My beloved child, a holy whisper is moving toward you right now, whisper carrying the very essence of this Christmas week. And Archangel Michael is leaning close, speaking with a fire that shakes the unseen. A divine blessing is being delivered to your home right now, something you've been waiting for. These words are not ordinary. They are not soft or fragile. They carry the sound of a door unlocking in the spirit, a door that has refused to open for far too long. Tonight, heaven is not hinting. Heaven is declaring. Michael shows me a light hovering above your home like a silent guardian, and he says this light has been assigned to you since the moment your heart cried for relief. There were prayers you whispered when no one saw your tears. There were battles you fought when no one came to help. And now, in this sacred Christmas week, that cry has reached its fullness. The divine delivery, yes, the very one your spirit thought might never arrive, is already on its way. But listen closely, Archangel Michael says this blessing is not just something you want. It is something your destiny needs. It carries realignment. It carries restoration. It carries the breaking of a cycle that has followed your family for generations. And the moment this blessing enters your home, the atmosphere around you will shift. Hidden resistance will scatter. Delayed answers will uncoil. The heaviness sitting on your chest will crack open. The warmth is coming, a holy warmth that fills the air before a miracle touches the ground. And Michael says, tell them to prepare, because blessings do not enter rooms that are closed. Your preparation is not physical, it is spiritual. Say open. Say expectant. Because anything can happen within the next breath. Here is something else Michael is showing me, a sealed envelope, a spiritual envelope, addressed to your home. It carries your name in golden script, as if heaven itself wrote it by hand. But inside the envelope is not just a blessing, it is a replacement. Something that was stolen, weakened, or delayed in your past is being returned in a stronger form. For someone watching right now, the blessing arriving is connected to peace. For another, it is connected to financial release. For someone else, it is healing, deep, overdue healing. And for many, it is the restoration of a connection, a heart, or a dream that felt beyond repair. But Archangel Michael says this blessing doesn't travel alone. It arrives with protection. He stands at your doorway in the spirit, sword lifted, declaring, no shadow can cross this threshold once the blessing lands. And I feel this strongly. There were forces that tried to interfere, forces that wanted to delay this moment even longer. But this Christmas week carries a divine override. Heaven has given Michael full authority to clear what stands in your way. Before I continue, let me tell you this with urgency. You were not guided to this message by coincidence. Something in your spirit was pulled here because the delivery scheduled for you requires recognition. If you turn away too soon, you may miss the sign that proves the blessing has arrived. So stay with me. What comes next will unlock what you've been sensing but couldn't explain. And now, Michael leans in once more and says, tell them the blessing is already moving. It is not a prophecy. It is an active process. This is why you may have felt unusual emotions lately. A sudden tiredness. A feeling of release. A quiet hope rising from nowhere. A strange calm settling in your home. These are not random sensations. They are spiritual symptoms that your atmosphere is shifting. Something is unfolding behind the scenes, and the moment it manifests, you will say, this is what I have been waiting for. Before this part closes, hear this one more time. Michael says the blessing is near your home already. Closer than you think. Closer than you understand. Closer than what your fear has led you to believe. Hold steady, the next part will reveal what this blessing carries and the sign that proves it's entering your home. Trust me, you will want to hear it. Type "I welcome the blessing" in the comments if this is touching your spirit. Lesson code 444 is now active over your whole. Wait with me, because what unfolds next is going to lift the veil in a way you have never experienced before. My radiant one, there is a stirring in the unseen realm tonight, and Archangel Michael steps forward with a clarity that feels almost electric. He says that as this Christmas week unfolds, the divine blessing moving toward your home is gaining momentum. It is no longer gliding slowly. It is rushing, guided by a heavenly urgency designed specifically for your breakthrough. Michael reveals that this blessing is not something fragile or uncertain. It is structured, sealed, and fully authorized by the Most High. Nothing can block it now. Not fear, not worry, not the echoes of past disappointment. It is already assigned, and it knows exactly where to land. Michael shows me an image of your home glowing in the spiritual realm, as if a pinpoint of light on a celestial map. He says this glow was ignited the moment your heart whispered, "I'm ready." Whether you realized it or not, that simple readiness created a spiritual signal, a beacon that heaven recognized instantly. And now, the divine blessing moves toward that signal with unwavering precision. The heavens have marked your home as a destination, and the delivery angels have been dispatched to ensure nothing diverts its path. But Michael wants you to understand something deeper. This blessing is coming to correct a divine imbalance. There were seasons where you gave more than you received. Seasons where you poured out love without being poured into. Times where you stood firm for others while no one stood for you. And even moments where you carried pain in silence, only because you did not want to burden anyone else. Heaven has witnessed every moment of this. This blessing is not just a gift. It is compensation. It is restoration. It is a divine repayment for every unseen sacrifice. Michael speaks again with a tone that feels like thunder wrapped in gentleness. He says the blessing entering your life will not feel ordinary. It will feel like alignment snapping into place. The kind of shift where something inside you suddenly exhales, realizing it has been holding tension for years. You may feel a wave of peace for no reason. You may feel a sudden clarity in your thoughts. You may even wake in the middle of the night sensing a presence of quiet holiness filling your room. These are signs that Michael and his warrior host are preparing the atmosphere ahead of the blessing's arrival. And now listen closely, because this part is important. Michael shows me that this divine blessing is multi-layered. One layer is visible. One layer is internal. And one layer is deeply spiritual. The visible layer may appear as a message, an opportunity, a restored connection, a breakthrough, or a piece of unexpected news that shifts your direction. The internal layer will come as a renewed strength, a lifted burden, or a sudden ability to move forward where you once felt stuck. And the spiritual layer, that is where Michael stands most powerfully. He says this layer will seal the blessing, protect it, and ensure it cannot be touched by negativity, envy, or spiritual resistance. But hear this with your whole heart. Michael says the reason you are hearing this message right now is because you are crossing a spiritual threshold. And thresholds are vulnerable moments. Just as a home is most exposed when the door is open, your spirit is most exposed when a blessing is near. This is why Michael comes now with his sword raised, not in warning, but in guardianship. He is clearing away interference. He is dismantling invisible resistance. He is ensuring a clear path for what is coming. And yet, there is still one more thing he wants you to know. The blessing coming to your home has been delayed before. It was meant to touch your life sooner, but spiritual pressure, emotional fatigue, and cycles from your past created barriers you didn't even realize were there. But this Christmas week carries a rare spiritual window. Heaven has reopened the path, What was once paused is now activated. What was once pending is now finalized. What was once withheld is now being released with force. You are standing in a divine moment where the old cycle loses its power and the new cycle claims its place. Some of you have felt a strange sense of anticipation lately, even if you couldn't explain why. The feeling that something is shifting, moving, aligning. Michael says this is not imagination. It is the vibration of the blessing drawing closer. He says the spiritual air around your home is changing. The atmosphere is thick with promise. Even your dreams may shift. You may see symbols of doors, light, letters, openings, or reunions. These are not random. They are confirmations. Before I end this part, Michael whispers one more revelation that carries great weight. He says, tell them the blessing is not coming to test them. It is coming to lift them. You have endured enough testing. This time is for elevation. This time is for joy. This time is for the long-awaited turning of your story. And he urges you to stay with this message, because the next revelation will show you the sign that proves your blessing has entered your home. You do not want to miss it. Hold your heart open for what comes next. The unveiling is only beginning. Type I am ready for the divine arrival in the comments if this is awakening something inside you. Blessing code 1212 is now released over your home. My dearest soul, as this Christmas week unfolds like a celestial tapestry, Archangel Michael steps forward again, his presence stronger, brighter, and more commanding than before. He says the divine blessing that is being delivered to your home right now is no longer approaching slowly. It has crossed the threshold of the spiritual realm and is now descending into the physical. This is the moment where heaven leans closest to the earth, and your spirit becomes capable of receiving what once felt impossible. Michael shows me a stream of golden light stretching from the heavens directly toward your home, as if a divine pathway has been constructed specifically for you. He says this is not symbolic. It is literal in the spiritual realm. Heaven is bridging the distance between your longing and your breakthrough. Michael wants you to understand something powerful. This blessing is not arriving because of chance or luck. It is arriving because heaven has witnessed the battles you fought alone, the tears you cried behind closed doors, the silent prayers that rose from the deepest parts of your soul. He says every moment of endurance created spiritual currency, and now the returned is being delivered. This blessing is not a consolation prize. It is a divine reward. It is a recognition of your resilience, your faith, and your refusal to collapse even when everything around you suggested you should. He says the reason you feel an unusual stillness, a strange quietness in your surroundings, is because the spiritual realm is preparing for entry. It is as if the air around you is being cleared, purified, opened. You might find yourself taking deep breaths without knowing why. You might feel lighter than usual, or suddenly tired, or deeply emotional. These are all signs that the blessing is aligning with your spirit. Michael says it is important that you become aware of these sensations, because awareness activates reception. When you recognize the movement of heaven, you position yourself to receive it fully. Now he reveals a sacred truth. The divine blessing being delivered to your home comes with an unmistakable sign. He shows me that within the next short window of time, you will encounter a moment that feels like divine interruption. Something small, yet impossible to ignore. It may be a sudden message, a shift in someone's attitude, an unexpected opportunity, a forgotten dream resurfacing, or even a moment of clarity that feels like it was whispered into your mind. This is the sign that the blessing has touched your home. Michael says that when this moment happens, your spirit will recognize it immediately because it will feel like a gentle shock, a holy pause, a sense that time stood still for just a breath. That is the confirmation that the blessing has arrived. Michael leans closer now, his voice filled with urgency and protection. He says this blessing not only brings transformation, it brings cleansing. It will push out energies that have overstayed their place in your life. Anything that carried weight, confusion, heaviness, or resistance will begin to unravel. Some connections may fade. Some thoughts may shift. Some burdens may break apart. This is not loss. This is spiritual housekeeping. Michael says, when heaven sends a blessing, it makes room for it. Anything that cannot coexist with your elevation will dissolve naturally. But the most extraordinary revelation is this. Michael says the blessing coming to your home carries a generational impact. It is not just for you. It is for the ones who came before you, the ones connected to you now, and the ones who will come after you. He says your home is being marked, sealed, and elevated. This blessing is the beginning of a new lineage path. It breaks cycles. It uproots patterns. It shifts the spiritual inheritance of your entire bloodline. He says, tell them this blessing is not just an answer. It is a turning point. Before this part closes, Michael urges one moment of deep attention. He says the unveiling that is about to come in the continuation of this message carries the blueprint of what the blessing contains. If you step away too soon, you may miss the key that explains the change entering your home. Hold steady. Stay connected. The next revelation holds the deeper meaning behind the delivery. And now, I speak to you directly. If this message is stirring your spirit, it is because heaven is aligning you with what is already yours. Type I receive the holy arrival in the comments. Blessing code 7777 is now in motion for you. Before we continue, take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe so this message reaches every soul meant to hear it. Your engagement helps spread the word that heaven is moving in this season, and it ensures more people receive what God is releasing. Just as Archangel Michael delivers a blessing to your home, you too have the power to release light into someone else's life. When you sow into this mission, you are not supporting a channel. You are fueling the spread of God's voice into countless homes waiting for hope. Heaven says, what you release in faith becomes a harvest in the lives of many, and this is your moment to let that truth live through you. I feel led to say these words. I invite you personally to stand with this movement so more souls can receive the messages that shift destinies. The very theme of this video is divine delivery, and your support becomes part of that divine chain, unlocking blessings far beyond what you see. As you give, may God multiply your seed with open heavens, divine protection, and supernatural increase. If you feel the pull in your spirit, obey it boldly. Use Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description to act with faith. Heaven honors decisive action. My chosen heart, there is a deep stirring in the heavenly realm, and Archangel Michael steps forward again with a presence so powerful, it feels as though the very air around you is thickening with revelation. He says the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week is now entering a stage of manifestation. It is no longer a distant spiritual promise. It is no longer approaching from afar. It is now pressing through the veil, slipping into the edges of your atmosphere, and preparing to anchor itself inside your life. Michael says this blessing is not something you will need to chase. It is something that will meet you exactly where you are, even if you feel unprepared, uncertain, or overwhelmed by what you have been carrying. He shows me an image of a door in the spiritual realm, a door that has been closed for far too long. This door does not open by force. It does not open through worry or striving. It opens through divine timing. and Michael declares that the appointed time has arrived. You are stepping into a window where heaven has aligned itself with your timeline. He says there are moments in a person's life where destiny bends downward to meet them. This is one of those moments. This is why you may be feeling a strange awareness, as if something invisible is standing close, watching over you, preparing you. It is because Michael and his host are adjusting the spiritual atmosphere of your home so that the blessing can land safely and fully. He reveals that this blessing is carrying three distinct energies. The first is renewal, the second is restoration, and the third is release. Renewal means that something that has grown weary in your life is being revived. Restoration means that something that was lost, damaged, or stolen is being returned with increase. Release means that something that has held you back, something emotional, spiritual, or circumstantial, is breaking off with finality. Michael says this blessing comes in layers because you are not just in need of one shift. You are in need of a complete turning of the page. He says the blessing arriving is not a fragment. It is a full transformation wrapped inside a single divine act. He speaks now with a softness that is rare for a warrior angel. He says you have endured a long season of waiting, and this waiting was not punishment. It was preparation. Heaven needed you to grow strong in places where you were once fragile, to gain clarity in areas where confusion once clouded you, and to recognize your worth even when others failed to. Michael says the reason this blessing is so powerful is because it comes after a season of molding. It comes after a season where heaven shaped you quietly, sometimes painfully, but always purposefully. And now, everything you have endured becomes the foundation on which this blessing will rest. I see something now. Michael places his hand over your home, and where his palm touches, light spreads downward. He says this light is divine protection, and it is necessary because whenever heaven releases a blessing, the enemy attempts to create distraction. You may have noticed small frustrations, unexpected tiredness, sudden emotional swings, or a feeling that something is shifting but you cannot quite name it. Michael says these sensations are not signs of worry, they are signs of transition. When a blessing is close, your spirit begins to shed anything that cannot go with you into the next chapter. These reactions are spiritual detox. Let them move through you. Let them clear your energy. Let them prepare the way. He also reveals something profound. The blessing being delivered to your home carries instructions. Not physical instructions, but spiritual alignment. He says that after the blessing lands, you will begin to feel guided in ways you cannot explain. You may feel nudges, sudden ideas, strong clarity about decisions, or an internal pull toward a new direction. These are not coincidences. They are not random thoughts. They are the unfolding of the blessing's purpose. Michael says this blessing is not coming to sit passively in your life. It is coming to activate something dormant within you. Something you forgot. Something you doubted. Something heaven never let die. He now shows me a vision of a candle being relit. He says this symbolizes your inner fire returning. For too long, you have survived on flickers of hope, small bursts of strength, and moments where you had to push yourself to keep going even when your heart felt faint. But Michael declares that this blessing reignites the flame within you. It brings back passion, direction, certainty, faith, courage. It restores the fire that life tried to dim. When this blessing enters your home, your spirit will rise again in ways you haven't felt in years. And before this part draws to its close, Michael gives one final message. He says, tell them this blessing is not arriving to change one moment of their life. It is arriving to change the direction of their life. This is why heaven is treating this moment with such intensity. This is why your soul feels awake right now. This is why you were guided to this message. The shift is not coming. It is happening. Stay with me, because what is about to unfold next will reveal the deeper meaning behind the blessing's purpose and how it will manifest in your day-to-day life. Do not step away. You will want to hear what comes. Type "My home is ready" in the comments if you feel this stirring in your spirit. Lesson code 1444 is covering your household now. My blessed one, there is a trembling in the spiritual atmosphere around you, a subtle but undeniable vibration that Archangel Michael is drawing your attention toward. He steps forward again, radiant with authority, and says that the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week is now entering a critical phase. He is no longer simply approaching, no longer hovering in the unseen. It has begun its descent into your physical reality, and the shift around you is becoming stronger, louder, clearer. Michael says that when a blessing of this magnitude comes, the spiritual realm begins to rearrange itself long before the blessing touches the ground. You may not see these rearrangements, but you feel them. They show up as sudden insights, unexpected emotions, and moments where you sense something is aligning but cannot yet see what it is. These are not mere sensations. They are evidence that the divine delivery is entering your timeline. Michael reveals something extraordinary now. He says the blessing heading toward your home is not coming as a simple outcome or a single event. It is coming as a divine catalyst. He shows me an image of a spark igniting a larger flame. This blessing is meant to trigger a series of unfolding moments, each one guiding you into a higher version of your life. It is not just about what you will receive. It is about what will awaken inside you because of what you receive. Heaven is not just delivering a blessing. Heaven is activating a transformation. He says there are spiritual mechanics involved in this process. Just as a seed enters soil and begins to shift the earth around it before breaking the surface, your blessing is shifting things in your life before it visibly arrives. You may notice things around you being removed, reshaped, repositioned, or revealed. This is heaven clearing the ground. He wants you to understand that these shifts are not disruptions. They are alignments. They are preparations. They are spiritual architects redesigning the path of your destiny so the blessing can land without resistance. Now Michael shows me something powerful. He extends his sword toward your home, and a protective shield rises around it, shimmering like liquid gold. He says this shield is necessary because whenever heaven releases a blessing, forces of confusion try to cloud the atmosphere. Not because they can stop the blessing, but because they want to distract you from recognizing it. Michael says to pay attention to anything that tries to steal your peace in this season. Sudden worries, old memories resurfacing, unexpected frustration or tension, inner doubts rising without reason. These are not signs of failure. They are the last flickers of spiritual interference breaking apart under the weight of the new blessing. He reassures you that this blessing is fortified. It hath been wrapped in spiritual protection. Nothing can touch it. Nothing can rout it. Nothing can weaken it. Heaven has declared its path, and its path leads directly to your home. Michael now reveals another layer of this blessing, something deeper, something personal. He says you have been carrying a burden in your heart that you rarely speak about, a heaviness that sits quietly behind your smile. He says heaven has heard the silent ache, the unspoken questions, the moments where you wondered if your story would ever truly change. This blessing is being delivered to ease that weight. It comes to lift what you have held alone for far too long. It comes to breathe relief into places that have felt tight, tense, and exhausted within you. It comes to prove that your hope has not been wasted. He speaks now with an intensity that feels like fire. He says that this blessing will not just shift your circumstances. It will shift your identity. You will no longer see yourself through the lens of what you lost, what you endured, or what you feared. You will begin to see yourself as heaven sees you, chosen, strengthened, restored, and divinely guided. This blessing is going to rewrite the way you talk to yourself, the way you carry yourself, the way you make decisions. It will awaken courage where doubt once lived, and it will awaken purpose where confusion once lingered. Michael now shows me a scene, a quiet room, your room, filled with a soft glow. He says that in the moment right before the blessing lands, there will be a shift in the atmosphere that you cannot mistake. It may feel like sudden warmth, or like the air thickening with presence, or like peace settling over you in a way that feels unnatural yet comforting. He says this is heaven entering your space. He says this is the moment your spirit will know the blessing has arrived. He urges you to remain attentive, not out of fear, but out of readiness. A blessing this large carries signs, and when the signs appear, recognition becomes the key that unlocks manifestation. Stay aware of the quiet moments. Stay open in the unexpected pauses. Stay sensitive to the gentle nudges in your heart. These are the whispers leading you to the full unfolding. Before this part ends, Michael speaks one final revelation with deep authority. He says, "Tell them that what is coming will not be temporary. It will not fade, it will not weaken, and it will not slip away. This blessing is permanent, anchored, and assigned. This is why heaven is preparing you with such care. This is why your spirit feels awakened, stirred, almost restless. You are stepping into permanence. You are stepping into divine establishment. You are stepping into the version of your life heaven has always intended. Hold steady as we move forward, because the next revelation will unveil the deeper assignment attached to this blessing and why heaven chose this exact moment in your life to release it." Type "I open my door to heaven's gift" in the comments if this part is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 3333 is now sealing your atmosphere with divine readiness. My awakened soul, there is a depth in the spiritual realm tonight that feels untouched, ancient, and yet intimately connected to this very moment in your life. Archangel Michael steps forward again, and this time his presence does not arrive with thunder or urgency, but with an overwhelming stillness. He says the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week has now crossed into the final stage of spiritual transition. It is no longer forming. It is no longer preparing. It is no longer aligning from a distance. It has begun to merge with your reality, weaving itself into the very fabric of your life, almost like a thread being pulled through a needle with perfect precision. Michael says this blessing is not drifting toward you by accident. It is being escorted, guarded, and ushered into your life with heavenly intention. He reveals that as this blessing nears your home, the spiritual vibrations around you heighten. This is why your emotions may feel sharper, your intuition stronger, your dreams more vivid, and your inner awareness more alert. He says these sensations are your spirit adjusting to a higher frequency. Heaven is lifting you, elevating your inner state, so that when the blessing arrives, you are capable of receiving it fully rather than partially. Michael says partial reception is no longer acceptable. Heaven desires the blessing to land at 100% impact, with no interference, no dilution, and no hesitation. Now Michael shows me a powerful image. Your home surrounded by a ring of light, almost like a halo resting on the earth. He says this ring represents divine readiness. It means that the spiritual atmosphere around your home has been cleansed and cleared. Any residue of fear, heaviness, or stagnation that once lingered has been weakened. You may have felt moments of emotional release recently, perhaps through tears, stillness, or unexpected clarity. He says this emotional cleansing was not random. It was spiritual preparation. Heaven was creating space within you for the blessing to settle and expand. He turns now, and his tone shifts with holy certainty. He says this blessing carries an assignment, and this assignment is tied to your voice, your choices, and your next season. He says heaven hath been waiting for you to enter a stage of spiritual maturity before releasing this next chapter. That maturity has arrived. You have grown in ways you may not even recognize yet. You have become stronger in silence, wiser through disappointment, and more discerning through pain. He says heaven does not waste suffering. Every tear, every sleepless night, every lonely moment has built a spiritual foundation capable of supporting the magnitude of what is coming. Then Michael reveals a hidden truth. This blessing cannot arrive in a place that is spiritually cluttered. This is why, before the blessing began its descent, heaven initiated a clearing process in your life. You may have noticed certain people pulling away, certain habits fading, certain desires shifting, or certain situations ending. These are not losses. These are removals. Heaven was repositioning you. He says it clearly. What is removed before a blessing is not meant to remain after the blessing arrives. Your spirit is being polished, refined, calibrated to hold what you once thought you weren't ready for. He now draws closer, and I can feel the weight of his message deepening. He says the blessing coming to your home is not just a response to prayer, it is a correction of destiny. There were moments in your past where you were pulled off course by circumstances you could not control, burdens, disappointments, betrayals, fear, lack, and confusion. Heaven is now realigning you to your original spiritual blueprint. The blessing is the anchor that snaps your path back into its divine trajectory. He says this is why it had to be delivered now. You have reached the moment where your past can no longer define you, and your future is demanding to unfold. He shows me a spiritual scroll beam unrolled before you. This scroll carries instructions written in light. He says that after the blessing enters your home, you will begin to feel a series of inner shifts, sudden clarity about decisions, a desire to reorganize your life, a pull toward new opportunities, a release from old attachments, ideas appearing seemingly from nowhere. He says you must trust these moments, for they are not imagination. They are divine signals guiding you toward your next chapter. He emphasizes this strongly. The blessing is not just arriving to change your environment, it is coming to change your direction. And then Michael reveals something intensely personal. He says the deepest part of this blessing is tied to a longing you have carried in secret, something you never fully voiced, something buried deep in the quiet places of your heart. Heaven is not only aware of this desire, heaven is responding to it. He says, tell them the blessing fulfills what the soul whispered. What you thought was forgotten hath been heard. What you thought was impossible has been granted. What you thought was delayed is now assigned. Before this part closes, Michael gives one more revelation, one that carries both power and tenderness. He says that once this blessing enters your home, everything stagnant in your life will begin to move. Conversations will shift. Opportunities will appear. Doors will open. Energy will flow. He says you will feel life returning to areas that have felt dormant for too long. This is resurrection energy. This is renewal energy. This is heaven breathing life into what once felt lifeless. Stay with me now, for the next unfolding will reveal how this blessing will interact with your relationships, your purpose, and your personal calling. What is coming next is a deeper glimpse into why heaven chose your home for such a time as this. Type "My spirit is awake" in the comments if this message is stirring you. Blessing code 555 is now active around your home and heart. I Rising 1. there is a sacred nearness in the atmosphere around you, a closeness that feels almost like the breath of heaven resting just above your shoulders. Archangel Michael steps forward again, and this time his presence carries the weight of revelation that hath been reserved for this exact moment in your journey. He says the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week has now advanced so close that its influence is beginning to echo through your relationships, your thoughts, and the deeper layers of your spirit. Heaven is not simply preparing you to receive a blessing. Heaven is preparing your environment so that the blessing can thrive once it arrives. Michael reveals something profound. He says this blessing carries a relational ripple, meaning that when it enters your home, it will touch the connections in your life, both the ones you rely on and the ones that have caused you pain. He says some relationships in your life have stretched your heart in ways nothing else could. They taught you strength. They taught you discernment. They taught you how to see truth beneath behavior and intention beneath words. These lessons were not given to break you but to strengthen you for this blessing. Because once this divine gift reaches your home, you will find that you cannot carry the old emotional weight into your new season. He shows me an image of cords being untied, some gently, some firmly. He says heaven is loosening the bonds that were attached to your old identity. These are not people being punished, nor is it a sign of abandonment. It is spiritual realignment. There are people whose chapter in your life has reached its natural ending, even if your heart tried to hold on longer. There are others whose presence in your life will deepen, becoming more meaningful, more aligned, more supportive. Michael says the blessing entering your home demands relational clarity. Anything that drains your spirit, confuses your heart, or disrupts your peace will be gently moved out of your emotional center. But then he shows me something even more beautiful. He says this blessing carries the power to heal relational wounds that have lingered in your spirit. Not necessarily through dramatic conversations, but through inner release. Heaven is lifting the heaviness behind old disappointments, misunderstandings, and unresolved moments. You may find yourself feeling unexpectedly lighter, no longer carrying the tension that once tightened in your chest whenever you thought of certain people or memories. This is part of the blessing's preparation. Michael says, what enters your home is soaked in peace. It must land on a heart that is willing to breathe again. Now he speaks about purpose. He says one of the most overlooked effects of a divine blessing is the awakening of a person's true calling. When heaven delivers something powerful to your life, your sense of direction begins to sharpen. You begin to recognize what matters and what does not. You begin to feel pulled towards certain action, certain dream, certain paths. This is not coincidence and not imagination. This is alignment. Michael says your purpose had been whispering to you for a long time, but the blessing arriving will give that whisper volume. It will turn quiet intuition into loud clarity. It will turn hesitance into conviction. It will turn uncertainty into vision. He reveals that for many who are hearing these words, this blessing is directly connected to a shift in personal calling. It may open new doors. It may awaken dormant gifts. It may reignite passions that life circumstances forced you to pause. It may reveal opportunities you once believed were out of reach. Heaven is not only delivering something to your home, heaven is delivering you back to yourself, the you that existed before disappointment rearranged your confidence and before fear dimmed your light. Michael now shows me a symbolic scene, a lamp being placed on a high table. He says this represents visibility. The blessing entering your home will elevate you. It will place you in positions where your light can be seen, where your gifts can be recognized, and where your authenticity becomes an asset rather than something you hide. You have been kept hidden for a reason, preserved in the shadows while heaven prepared your foundation. But this blessing announces your emergence. not into chaos or exposure, but into purpose and alignment. He continues, saying that when the blessing arrives, there will be a moment of unmistakable inner confirmation. You will feel a shift, not dramatic, not noisy, but deeply certain. A knowing, a calm, a wave of assurance that washes over you as though heaven placed a hand on your shoulder. This confirmation will settle in your spirit and remove any remaining doubt. Michael says this moment of knowing is as important as the blessing itself, because recognition is what activates your authority in the new season. And he speaks of protection again. He says your heart is precious to heaven, more precious than you realize. The blessing will not enter your life without the shield of divine covering. He reminds you that he stands guard at the threshold of your home, ensuring that what enters is pure, divinely assigned, and aligned with your highest good. He says you may begin to feel a sense of safety rising in you, unexpected peace, quiet confidence, and inner stillness. These sensations are proof of spiritual guardianship. They are proof that heaven has already stationed protection around your blessing. Before this part comes to its close, Michael gives one final revelation. He says the blessing entering your home will shift the way you love, the way you trust, and the way you connect. It will bring restoration to your emotional world and clarity to your relational world. It will return strength where you felt weakened and hope where you felt tired. You are not simply receiving a blessing. You are receiving a new chapter of identity, purpose, and spiritual renewal. Stay close as the unfolding continues, because what comes next will reveal the moment where heaven marks your home with undeniable confirmation. You will not want to miss the next revelation. Type "I rise into my NEW season" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 1919 is now active over your relationships and purpose. My destined one, there is a holy stirring around you right now, a movement so delicate yet so powerful that Archangel Michael is urging you to pay close attention. He steps forward with a presence that feels expansive, almost as if the very atmosphere has widened to hold what he is about to reveal. Michael says the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week has now reached the threshold of manifestation. It is standing at the doorway of your life, waiting for the spiritual moment when heaven gives the final command. Enter. You may not hear this command with your ears, but your spirit will feel it like the soft echo of a bell, reverberating gently through your heart. Michael shows me a symbolic image. Your home illuminated from within, as if a warm light is glowing behind every window. He says this light represents readiness. Heaven had been preparing not just your circumstances, not just your emotions, but the entirety of your spiritual environment. He emphasizes that blessings do not enter chaos, they settle into alignment. This is why your life has felt as though it had been shaken, rearranged, emptied, and filled all at once. It was not confusion. It was calibration. You were being shaped into the vessel capable of holding what heaven has been preparing for you. Now Michael turns his attention to something deeply important. The moment heaven marks your home. He says every divine blessing carries a moment of confirmation, an unmistakable sign that it has crossed from realms unseen into realms tangible. For some, this sign may come as a sudden breakthrough, a message, an opportunity, a door opening that felt permanently closed. For others, it will be internal, an overwhelming sense of peace that settles so deeply within you that it silences every lingering fear. For others still, it may be something symbolic appearing in their day, something that stands out so clearly that the soul whispers, "This is not ordinary." Michael wants you to understand that this sign will not be subtle. It will be personal. It will be designed for your spirit alone. Heaven speaks to each soul in its own language, and the sign that marks your blessing will be tailored to your heart's understanding. He says, tell them to be attentive, not fearful. The blessing does not hide. It reveals itself to the heart that is watching. He now reveals a deeper truth about the blessing's function. He says the blessing arriving at your home contains a divine correction. There were paths you were meant to walk, opportunities you were meant to receive, relationships you were meant to build, and peace you were meant to experience, but life, circumstance, and spiritual interference diverted your steps. The blessing now nearing your life is designed to pull you back into alignment with your original purpose. It is not merely an event. It is a recalibration of destiny. Michael says this is why its presence feels so heavy, so significant, so close. The blessing carries the vibration of wholeness, and your spirit is beginning to resonate with it like a string being tuned to the right frequency. He also reveals that this blessing carries timing embedded within it. Heaven is not simply giving you what you asked for. Heaven is giving it at the perfect moment. If this blessing had arrived earlier, it would not have been sustained. Your heart would not have been ready. The surrounding circumstances would not have supported it. The divine protection assigned to it would not yet have been positioned. But now the environment is ready. Now the timing is ripe. Now the spiritual pathway is clear. Heaven is delivering not just the blessing but the season it belongs to. Michael then turns toward your emotional landscape. He says the blessing will touch the tender areas of your heart, the places where disappointment once settled, the places where hope grew quiet, the places where you lost faith in the possibility of change. He says this blessing will not come to the surface of their life first. It will come to the depths. You will feel an inner shift, a loosening, a softening, a healing, before you see the outer manifestation. Heaven works from the inside outward, ensuring the soil of your soul is ready to nurture the miracle that is being planted. He now reveals a truth that feels almost like a sacred whisper. He says there is something within you that heaven entrusted to you long before you even understood its value. A gift, a calling, a spiritual sensitivity, a divine purpose. He says the blessing being delivered to your home will activate that sacred part of you. It will awaken what you thought had been forgotten. It will reignite what life circumstances made you bury. This blessing is not just about provision. It is about identity. Heaven is giving you back the pieces of yourself you lost along the way. Before this part draws to its close, Michael gives one final revelation, and he speaks it with a tone that carries both urgency and tenderness. He says your blessing is at the door, and the next shift will happen suddenly, like the first breath after a long silence, like dawn breaking after a dark night, like clarity awakening in a mind that once felt clouded. He says, tell them the moment is near. Tell them their spirit must remain open. Tell them heaven is watching for the heart that is ready. And now I speak directly to you. If your spirit is trembling, if your heart feels stirred, if something inside you is awakening, it is because the blessing is closer than ever before. Type "My home is sealed in divine light" in the comments. Blessing code 8181 is now released over your household. Before we continue forward, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps this message reach every soul who needs to hear what heaven is releasing in this season. Spread this light as part of your spiritual assignment. Just as Archangel Michael stands at the doorway of your home delivering a divine blessing, this mission stands at the doorway of countless souls waiting for a word that ignites hope again. When you sow into this ministry, you are not giving to a creator. You are partnering with heaven to carry light into the places where darkness has lingered too long. The word says that when you give, it is like planting seed into good soil. And in this moment I declare God's voice is speaking through this very message, inviting you to be part of this holy assignment. I feel strongly led to say, I invite you personally into this work because heaven is raising up voices, platforms, and messages that awaken destiny, and your support helps carry that awakening. Just as this video declares a blessing delivered to your home, your giving becomes the blessing that reaches someone else's home. May God multiply every seed you release and open the windows of heaven over your life. Move with faith. Use Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, and step into the flow of heaven's harvest. My illuminated one, there is a sacred tension in the air around you right now, a powerful stillness that only appears when heaven is preparing to reveal something undeniable. Archangel Michael steps forward again, and this time his presence does not simply fill the space, it expands it. It stretches your awareness, widens your spiritual senses, and pulls your attention to the truth that something monumental is unfolding. Michael says the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week has now moved beyond the threshold. It is no longer waiting outside the door. It is beginning to seep into your atmosphere, like the first warm breeze drifting into a cold room before the full sunrise touches the earth. He reveals that when a blessing crosses from the spiritual realm into the physical, there is a moment of activation where your inner world begins responding before your outer world has caught up. It may feel like the stirring of intuition, like a shift in your emotional rhythm, like a sense of hope rising from places where hope has been silent for too long. These inner responses are evidence that heaven is already working. They act as spiritual footprints that show you the blessing is close, even if its full form is not visible yet. Michael shows me a vision. Your home surrounded by a soft spiral of light that moves gently but confidently, as though marking the space where heaven's hand has touched. He says this spiral represents the weaving of divine intention into the physical environment. You may begin to notice small changes around you, feeling more drawn to clean, to rearrange, to create order, to release clutter, to brighten your space. These impulses are not random. Heaven often prepares the home before it manifests the blessing. A cleansed physical space mirrors a cleansed spiritual space, and Michael says your home is being spiritually groomed to hold the weight of what is coming. Now he speaks about something deeply significant, spiritual sensitivity. He says you may begin to feel more aware of your emotions, more intuitive about people, more discerning about energy, more sensitive to the atmosphere around you. This is not overwhelm. This is awakening. When a blessing carries generational significance, heaven heightens the senses of the one chosen to carry it. Your spirit is being trained to navigate the new territory that the blessing will open. What once confused you will now reveal itself. What once drained you will be easily identified. What once seemed uncertain will become unmistakably clear. Michael then turns to an area of your life that has weighed heavily upon you, your unanswered prayers. He says heaven has not forgotten a single one. Some of the prayers you thought were ignored were actually being rerouted, reshaped, and aligned for a greater outcome. The blessing coming to your home is not merely an answer. It is a culmination. It is the merging of multiple prayers, multiple desires, multiple cries, layered into one divine response. He says the reason this blessing feels so powerful is because it is carrying the weight of many petitions at once. Heaven waited to deliver them collectively so that the impact would be undeniable. Now Michael highlights your personal strength. He says you have endured seasons where your spirit felt stretched, where your hope felt thin, where your faith felt quiet. Yet even in those moments, you did not break. You bent, but you did not shatter. You grew weary, but you did not give up. You questioned, but you did not walk away from the divine path. Michael says heaven has counted every moment of resilience. It is this endurance that has created the spiritual capacity needed for what is being delivered now. Blessings of great magnitude require vessels that have been strengthened, and your strength, born from struggle, not ease, has prepared you for this moment. He now shifts the focus to timing. Heaven could have sent this blessing earlier, but Michael reveals that earlier seasons were not aligned with the support, the clarity, or the maturity required to sustain what is coming. If this blessing had come too soon, it would have overwhelmed you. You might have misread it, mishandled it, or doubted its significance. But now you are positioned. Now you are spiritually aware. Now your heart is open. Now your intuition is active. Now your foundation is steady. Heaven delivers powerful blessings only to hearts that can hold them without breaking. Michael shows me another vision, a door opening inward, not outward. He says this is symbolic of what is occurring within you. The blessing is not forcing its way into your life. Your spirit is opening to receive it. The more open your heart becomes, the more the blessing expands in your life. This inward opening is sacred. It means you are aligning with the will of heaven and stepping into partnership with the divine process. Now he speaks a truth that carries great spiritual weight. He says the blessing coming to your home will not simply touch your present. It will rewrite your future. It will shift the trajectory of your days ahead. It will alter the quality of your life, the stability of your emotions, the strength of your relationships, and the clarity of your purpose. Heaven is not delivering a temporary uplift. Heaven is delivering a permanent elevation. He emphasizes that the next stage of this journey will involve recognition. Heaven will give you signs that confirm the blessing is fully anchored. These signs will appear in your thoughts, your interactions, your environment, and even in unexpected moments of synchronicity. When you see these signs, your spirit will know the promise has arrived. The shift is real. The blessing is active. Before this part closes, Michael gives one final message. He says, tell them the transformation will happen quietly at first, then suddenly. It will feel like nothing is happening, until everything happens at once. Heaven works in stillness before it works in speed. The silence is not delay, it is preparation. And you are standing in the final moments before the unveiling. Stay with me, because what comes next will reveal how this blessing will manifest in ways that alter not only your home, but the very rhythm of your life. Type I am ready for the unveiling in the comments if this part is awakening your spirit. Blessing code 1001 is now released over your path. My ascended one, there is a deep and holy quiet hovering around your life right now. A quiet that Archangel Michael says is not emptiness but anticipation. He steps forward again, more radiant than before, and his presence carries the unmistakable weight of something nearing completion. He says the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week has now entered a stage of spiritual merging, where heaven and earth begin to overlap. This is the moment where the unseen begins shaping the scene, where the spiritual blueprint begins imprinting itself on your physical reality. Michael says you are standing in the doorway of a moment that will be remembered in your life story as a divine turning point. He shows me a vision of your home surrounded by a veil of shimmering energy, a veil that pulses with gentle waves of light. This veil is not a barrier. It is a protective covering. Michael says this covering prevents spiritual noise, emotional interference, and energetic distractions from interrupting the blessing's descent. You may have noticed moments of unusual peace lately, moments where the heaviness you once carried seemed to lift for no clear reason. That is because heaven has stationed protection around you. This is not the calm before a storm. This is the calm before a breakthrough. Michael reveals something deeper now. He says when a blessing reaches this stage, it begins to influence your internal world with clarity. You might feel sudden realizations rising in you, as if thoughts you never connected before are beginning to align. You may feel drawn to release certain emotions, to forgive old memories, or to detach from fears that once held power over you. Michael says these shifts are not random emotional waves. They are the blessing adjusting the container, the vessel of your soul. Heaven is shaping you to hold what is coming without breaking under the weight of transformation. He turns your attention now to intuition. He says your spiritual senses have been awakening for some time, but over the next moments and days, this awakening will intensify. You may sense things before they happen. You may feel the presence of peace entering your space. You may experience sudden knowing without explanation. Michael says this intuitive stirring is a sign of closeness. When a blessing is near manifestation, the spirit becomes heightened so it can recognize what the physical eyes cannot yet see. This is why your awareness is expanding. This is why your thoughts feel deeper. This is why your heart feels more open than it has in a long time. Now he reveals the next layer of your unfolding, emotional resonance. Michael explains that when a divine blessing is this close, the emotions inside your body begin to harmonize with its frequency. Old emotions rise only to be released. Hidden wounds surface only to be healed. Dormant dreams wake up only to be realigned. You may notice moments where you feel a sudden urge to cry, or moments where you feel deep peace without knowing why. These are symptoms of resonance. Heaven is restructuring your emotional environment so that your heart is ready to receive and hold what is coming. Michael now shifts the focus toward relationships again, but this time with a new angle. He says the blessing entering your home will expose what is aligned and what is misaligned in your relational world. Not to punish, not to remove recklessly, but to bring clarity. He says some connections will be strengthened because they belong to the next chapter of your life. Others may weaken or drift away, not because of conflict but because their purpose in your life has been completed. Michael emphasizes that you must trust these shifts. Heaven does not remove anything that is meant to stay, and it does not keep anything that is meant to move. Trust the divine rearrangement. It is preparing emotional harmony for the blessing's arrival. Now Michael shows me a symbol, a key made of light resting above your home. He says this represents access, heaven granting you entrance into rooms of destiny that were once closed. He says the blessing will unlock opportunities you were denied before. It will open doors that once felt sealed shut. It will make paths visible that you could not see from the place you stood. This blessing is not only entering your home, it is opening your future. He reveals something even more profound now. The blessing carries a generational vibration. It does not only affect you, it affects the lineage connected to you. It brings healing to past generational wounds. It brings protection to future descendants. It brings elevation to the spiritual identity of your family. Michael says you are the chosen vessel in your bloodline to receive this blessing because your spirit carries the strength to anchor it. The shift that begins with you will ripple into generations ahead. He speaks now with a tone that feels like pure authority. He says the blessing's arrival will not be quiet. It will not be hidden. It will not be small. It may begin gently, but it will expand with momentum. You will see evidence. You will feel evidence. You will walk into evidence. Things that once took months will unfold suddenly. Things that once felt delayed will accelerate. Things that once felt uncertain will become unmistakably clear. He continues, saying the moment of manifestation is very near. You may feel time itself behaving strangely, days feeling faster, moments feeling stretched, emotions intensifying without reason. These sensations are the thinning of the veil between the spiritual and physical realms. When heaven is preparing to materialize something, the atmosphere becomes charged, almost electric. You are sensing that charge. Michael now reveals one more truth, one that acts as a spiritual anchor. He says the blessing coming to your home is not dependent on your perfection. It is dependent on your openness. Heaven is not delivering this because you earned it. Heaven is delivering it because you are aligned with it. Your heart has prepared itself through endurance. Your spirit has matured through experience. Your faith has survived through struggle. Heaven responds not to human perfection but to spiritual readiness. And you, dear one, are ready. Before this part closes, he gives one final message. Tell them the shift is already happening. What they are waiting for is not ahead. It is unfolding around them now. You are in the moment of spiritual acceleration, and the blessing is already touching your life in ways you have not yet perceived. Stay with me, because what comes next will reveal the moment the blessing anchors fully into your reality and how to recognize the confirmation that cannot be missed. Type "I stand in divine alignment" in the comments if this part is stirring your spirit. Blessing code 9090 is now moving through your atmosphere. I elevated one. There is a holy intensity gathering around your spirit now, an unmistakable pull that signals something divine is stretching itself across the threshold of your life. Archangel Michael steps forward once more, and his presence arrives not softly this time, but with the full weight of authority. He says the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week has now reached its point of anchoring. It is no longer hovering. It is no longer preparing. It is no longer circling. It is entering. It is integrating. It is beginning to fuse itself with the very foundation of your reality. Michael says this is the moment where the spiritual meets the physical, where the invisible becomes visible, and where heaven's promise becomes earth's manifestation. He shows me an image of your home from above, illuminated with streams of light descending into it as though heaven has opened a portal just for you. This vision is not symbolic. It is spiritual truth. Michael says that when a blessing has been divinely assigned, heaven sends more than just the gift. It sends the energy, protection, clarity, and divine timing required to sustain it. You are not only receiving a blessing, you are being wrapped in the infrastructure that ensures nothing snatches it away. He says, tell them heaven does not send a miracle without sending a shield, and this shield is already active around you. Michael now directs your attention inward. He says the blessing entering your home will first awaken something deep within your spirit. This inner awakening may feel like warmth moving through your chest, or a light pressure on your shoulders, or a sudden emotional release that feels both unfamiliar and comforting. You may experience moments where the world feels quieter, where your thoughts feel settled, or where your heart feels held by an unseen presence. These sensations are not random. They are the earliest signs that the blessing has begun to integrate with your spirit. Then he reveals an even deeper truth. Every divine blessing carries a frequency. When that frequency enters a person's life, their inner world begins to rise to match it. This is why you may feel an unusual clarity about what you want and what you no longer want. This is why you may feel your intuition sharpening, your vision expanding, or your desire for peace increasing. Heaven is adjusting your internal vibration so the blessing can settle into alignment without resistance. Michael says, the heart that accepts the blessing must rise to the level of the blessing. And your heart is rising even now. Michael now speaks about your environment. He says the blessing entering your home will subtly rearrange things in your surroundings. Objects you once ignored may draw your attention. Rooms you seldom visited may feel magnetized. Spaces that once felt heavy may begin to feel lighter. You may feel inspired to clean, reorganize, or refresh your home. This is not coincidence. This is preparation. Heaven often prompts physical movement to reflect spiritual transformation. When the blessing enters, Your environment will begin aligning with your new chapter. What once felt stagnant will become active. What once felt dim will feel illuminated. He now reveals something that may surprise you. He says the blessing entering your life will cause certain opportunities to open faster than expected. Paths that once felt blocked will suddenly become clear. People who once overlooked you will begin to notice you. Situations that once intimidated you will become effortless. This is not luck. This is divine acceleration. The blessing does not come to sit quietly. It comes to shift everything it touches. Michael says you will soon begin to see synchronicities that confirm you are moving into alignment. Repeated numbers, timely conversations, unexpected encounters, sudden inspiration. These signs are not random. They are indicators of movement. Now Michael turns his attention to your emotional world. He says the blessing will bring healing, but not in the way you expect. The healing will not come through force. It will come through release. You may find yourself letting go of past wounds without effort. You may feel forgiveness rising naturally in your heart. You may feel detachment from things that once consumed your energy. This is because the blessing carries restorative power. It does not simply add new joy. It dissolves old pain. Heaven does not build on broken foundations. And Michael says the blessing will repair what needed mending before it fully settles. He leans closer now, and his tone becomes more intimate. He says the blessing entering your home will reveal truth. Truth about your purpose. Truth about your relationships. Truth about your path. Truth about who you are becoming. And this truth will not frighten you, it will free you. You will feel clarity where confusion once lived. You will feel certainty where doubt once whispered. You will feel peace in areas where struggle once defined your days. Michael says, this blessing is not only arriving, it is awakening them. He now reveals one of the most important messages of this entire journey. He says the blessing entering your home is not simply something you will experience, it is something you will grow into. This is why heaven prepared you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. This blessing is not meant to pass through your life. It is meant to reshape your life. It is the beginning of a season that will unfold in stages, each one more elevated than the last. You are stepping into a divine unfolding, not a single moment. Before this part closes, Michael speaks with undeniable authority. Tell them the confirmation is near. They will recognize it instantly. It will carry the weight of certainty. This confirmation will come through a moment of sudden alignment, a shift so clear that your heart will respond before your mind can analyze it. When you feel that inner surge, the quiet knowing, the deep exhale, the wave of understanding, you will know the blessing has fully entered. Stay close now. The next unfolding will reveal the moment heaven seals this blessing into your reality and how you will recognize the permanent shift that follows. Type I receive my divine anchoring in the comments if this part resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 2024 is now solidifying your spiritual foundation. My chosen vessel of light, there is a sacred stillness pouring over this moment, a stillness Archangel Michael calls the soft landing of heaven's promise. He steps forward now with the fullness of his authority, and his presence feels different, more complete, more settled, more final, because the divine blessing being delivered to your home this Christmas week has now crossed entirely into your reality. Michael says the blessing is no longer approaching, is no longer preparing. It is no longer hovering between realms. It has entered. It has seated itself. It has claimed its place in your life. You are no longer waiting for your blessing. You are standing inside the beginning of its awakening. Michael reveals a breathtaking truth. The moment the blessing entered, a ripple passed through your atmosphere. It was subtle, quiet, nearly imperceptible to the natural eye, but your spirit felt it. This ripple was the spiritual confirmation that heaven has completed the delivery. It may have come as a sudden breath you didn't know you needed, a moment of unexplainable peace, an emotional release you didn't expect, or a gentle shift inside your heart. No matter how it showed itself, that ripple was heaven whispering, "It is done." He shows me your home again, and this time the image has transformed. The light surrounding it is stronger, more grounded, no longer swirling in preparation but pulsing with stability. Michael says this is because the blessing has rooted itself. And now, the environment around you is beginning to rearrange in response. You may notice small changes in your behavior, greater calm in situations that once triggered you, greater clarity where you once felt confusion, greater strength where you once felt uncertainty. These shifts are not simply emotional. They are spiritual alignment manifesting in your daily life. Michael says the blessing carries a sequence. First it enters your spirit, then it enters your emotions, then it enters your perception, and finally, your physical world begins changing to match the inner transformation. He wants you to understand that you are now in the stage where life itself will begin to respond. Opportunities will seem to appear with perfect timing. Conversations will take new direction. Doors that remained stubbornly closed for years will begin to open with surprising ease. Situations that once burdened you will lose their power. This is not coincidence. This is heaven reorganizing your path so it aligns with the new chapter you have stepped into. He now turns your attention to identity. He says the blessing arriving in your home is not only transforming your circumstances, it is transforming you. You will begin to feel shifts in the way you view yourself. Old insecurities will begin dissolving. The narratives that once held you back will loosen their grip. A deeper confidence will begin rising, not built on pride but on divine certainty. Michael says heaven has anchored a new identity inside your spirit, one that reflects who you were always meant to become. This identity carries purpose, clarity, strength, and spiritual authority. He reveals something deeply profound. The blessing entering your home has activated a divine season, not a divine moment. Heaven is not giving you a short-lived miracle. Heaven is giving you a sustained elevation. You have entered a timeline where the blessing will continue unfolding in layers. New insight, new favor, new protection, new alignment. This is the first wave, but it is not the last. Michael says, "Tell them heaven will send signs in cycles. Each sign will confirm a deeper level of manifestation. You will know them by the peace they bring and by the clarity they awaken." Michael now speaks about protection again, but with even more authority. He says that because this blessing is generational and destiny-rooted, heaven has placed a permanent shield around it. No interference, no negativity, no spiritual resistance can undo what has been anchored. This blessing is sealed. It is guarded. It is sustained by divine decree. He wants you to rest in this truth. You cannot lose what heaven has planted. The blessing is yours. It is woven into your path now. He shows me the spiritual landscape behind you, your past, your wounds, your struggles, and I see how far you have come without even realizing it. Michael says heaven hath been preparing you for this for much longer than you knew. Every difficulty sharpened you. Every loss deepened you. Every setback refined you. And now, in this Christmas week, the fullness of that preparation has culminated in one divine moment, the arrival of your blessing. He leans close now, and his voice grows soft, almost tender. He says the next sign you experience will be unmistakable. It will be the moment when your heart and your mind agree in perfect unity. A moment of profound clarity where you suddenly know something has shifted permanently. This knowing will anchor you. It will stabilize your emotions. It will guide your decisions. And it will become the spiritual evidence that the blessing is not only present, it is active. Michael ends with a declaration. The blessing is not just in their home. The blessing is in their timeline. Their story has turned. Their season has changed. Their elevation has begun. You are standing in the dawn of a divine chapter that will reshape the landscape of your future. Walk forward with expectation. Heaven has completed what it promised. Type "My blessing has arrived" in the comments if this part stirs your spirit. Blessing code 777,000 is now sealing this manifestation into your life. Before we transition, take a moment to like, comment, share, subscribe, and let this message reach every soul whose spirit is waiting for heavenly confirmation. Your engagement helps carry this divine work into the world. Just as Archangel Michael has delivered a blessing into your home, heaven is calling you to help carry light into the homes of others. When you support this mission, you are not simply helping a channel. You are becoming part of a divine chain reaction that brings healing, hope, and revelation to souls who desperately need it. The Word says that when you give, your seed becomes a living testimony, and today God is speaking through this very message, inviting you to take your place in this movement of restoration. I feel led to say these words. I invite you personally to stand with this calling, because what we are building together is bigger than content. It is spiritual rescue. The same blessing that entered your home can reach countless others through your act of faith. As you sow, may heaven release open doors, multiplied favor, and divine acceleration into your life. Move with boldness. Use Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, and step into the flow of supernatural harvest. Your blessing has arrived. Your season has shifted. And heaven is not done with you yet.